Welcome back to Cuisine and Chateau for another episode of Cooking with Beer, a show where we take local chefs, local produce, and local beer to make one amazing meal. Let's meet our chef. Now that we've met our chef, let's find out what beer he'll be cooking with today.
So Boiling Oar launched in March of 2016. We're a relatively new microbrewery. We have 3 brand new beers that we've launched into the Calgary market. Well, I was a home brewer to start, and I was working in breweries, and then AGLC changed the regulations so little guys could get started. So we decided that we were gonna, have a hand in it, and we decided we were gonna have a brewery. So me and my buddies started it, and here we are. Well, we started off Chef Beatty with a KOLSH. KOLSH is our entry beer. We call it the gateway beer. It's a cold fermented ale. It's like a lager, but has a little more flavor going on. And then we started the second dish off with a pale ale. It's a hop-forward beer with citrus and grapefruit notes. As well, it has a higher alcohol content, so there's a little more heat factor behind it. And then thirdly, we did a brown ale, so it has nice coffee and chocolate notes. It's robust and has a nice malty finish to it, and it sits around 5%. I think beers, just as much as wine, can be paired with all kinds of different dishes, and there's how many different beer styles, so it's awesome to see it being done. Good luck, Chef Beatty. I hope you have a good time with our beer, and I hope they do well for your dishes.
Let's welcome our chef for today, Matthew Beatty, executive chef at the Nash, which I have to say, when you walk in there, smells so good.
Well, that is awesome, because a big part of what we do is cook over hardwood and charcoal, and that flavor is something that just makes its way into every part of our restaurant.
My favorite thing about walking into the Nash is that smell.
Thanks.
Yeah. What are we cooking today?
Well, we're inspired by Boiling Oar, and our first dish will have the KOLSH, and that'll be seared scallops with a ragu of potato, Tabor corn, and house-made chorizo. And that'll be awesome, because it's bright, crisp flavors of the KOLSH, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of heat out of the chorizo, and the scallops are just absolutely lovely and banging. Certified ocean-wise, of course, like all the seafood at the Nash.
That's always a good thing when you're dealing with seafood. Let's get started. What do we do first?
No sweat. So we've got all our ingredients pre-prepared, and this is a really quick, simple recipe. The cutting took us almost no time whatsoever, and what we're going to do is just get our hash going first. A little splash of olive oil. Now, in this case, we're not doing too much high heat, so we don't need to worry about breaking down the olive oil or, maybe taking the flavor away.
Yeah.
So we'll just get this one going here, and then we're going to start with our onions. And then maybe we'll have you, can you want to cut a little garlic? Are you good with the garlic?
I don't know.
You're injured.
I haven't had good luck today with cooking so far.
Oh, that's an owl, yeah. Maybe all you need to do today is open the beers.
Oh, yes.
But no drinking the beers, because we have to cook with the beers.
Okay.
Okay, you got that?
Afterwards.
Well, maybe we can drink some beers.
We'll see.
That's a good idea. Well, let's get started with our onions. So like I say, this is really, really simple. We're just going to very quickly saute these, and then we're going to add our potato, corn, and our chorizo. And as I mentioned earlier, we actually make the chorizo right at the Nash.
Yum.
So we want to just get the chorizo in nice and early, because what we want to do is actually get some of the fat of the sausage rendered down, and that will actually help cook the rest of the garnishes. So, little garlic that we've got pre-peeled, and just a little bit of a trick. You don't always have to actually slice the garlic.
Yeah.
This lovely little mandolin here, or the microplane rather. Then just a quick little toss. So you can see here how the onions are actually already starting to turn orange.
Yeah.
So that's the fat coming out of the chorizo, all that lovely smoked paprika.
And going into the onions there.
Yeah, exactly. And you can totally smell that coming through, which is awesome.
Good.
I know. And this dish
Although
is
what
so
I can really
simple.
smell is the chorizo before we even started cooking. When you brought it out, we were just prepping it. It smells so good.
Awesome. Thanks
You
very
don't
much.
even need to cook it.
I know. And actually this
Smell
one
good.
here, because it is a dry cure, you can actually even eat it in its state
itself?
just like that. Yeah, for sure. Just want to toss in the potatoes now. Really, really simple. And if you don't mind, this is your moment.
Oh, what do I
This
need
is
to
where
do?
we take a little bit of the beer and you add it over here.
Okay. Tell me when.
I'll go for your life. That's great. That's tons. Perfect. Thanks so much. And don't go too far with that because we'll use it in a sec. So here all we're going to do is we're just going to let this simmer for just a couple of seconds. We don't need to reduce it. The intention is that this is a ragu.
Yeah.
So we need a little bit of liquid still.
What is a ragu?
This is almost like a little bit of a stew.
Okay.
So it's a sauteed item. In this case, it's potato, chorizo, a little bit of corn that we'll add with a stock generally. But, you know, as much as I love fine French cooking, cooking with a little bit of boiling oar is definitely the way for today. Good. So you can see this is just starting to come up to a simmer. We're just going to let it simmer for maybe about 30 seconds.
Okay.
All we need to do is warm through the potatoes because we have pre-blanched them. Okay. Let's add our corn in now.
And blanch means you boiled them a little bit, right?
We did. So we started them in cold water. A little bit of salt, brought them up until they were just tooth tender, and then took them out. And unlike blanching vegetables, we don't want to take a potato and put it in ice water because we don't want to wash away the starch. Okay. We just simply take it out of the water, put it on a tray, leave it at room temperature so that it stops cooking. Seems straightforward?
Pretty well. I think I'm getting there.
You got this?
Yeah.
Sweet. How about you add the butter?
Ooh,
because that doesn't involve anything sharp.
Okay.
And everything's better with butter, remember.
How many of these do I put in?
Let's say 5.
5?
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll just let this simmer away.
Looks good.
It'll be delicious. So we're just going to let that have a go.
Okay.
Let's start pre-warming our pan for the searing of the scallops. So here are our ocean-wise scallops. Okay. So we source these scallops from Qualicum, which is located on Vancouver Island. Are you familiar?
From Vancouver Island?
Island girl?
I am, yes.
Island guy.
Woo!
Calgary, Alberta, cooking with beer. Imagine that, hey? So you'll notice we've got these on a blue J cloth. So the idea here is we want a really great sear, so we've got them nice and dry. Okay. Because when they've got moisture on them, then they end up steaming more than they do searing, and we don't get that really nice caramelization of the scallops.
That's good to know, because I would have never thought of that.
No, it's totally the move. So pan should be nice and hot, and then again, although we're going to go high heat, we're only going to be in the pan for just a couple of seconds, so we will use our olive oil. If we were going to be cooking for a longer time, we'd be worried about this getting a little bit bitter, but for this case, not a worry.
What would you use instead?
Grapeseed is a perfect alternative.
For higher temperatures?
Absolutely. Grapeseed has the highest temperature point, smoke point, if you will. So you can cook it nice and hot, nice and hard, without it starting to go bitter. Because that's really the problem, is that we worry about the bitterness developing. So as soon as we can see the fat starting to shimmer, and we use that word quite a lot, fat, even though I go back to it, it's absolutely all good stuff. Let's sear some scallops.
Can I use this knife to cut these?
Please do, nice and thin. We want to make sure that what we don't do at this point is start shaking them all around. I think that's such a natural thing. People get worried.
You see it on TV all the time.
Do you?
So like this thing? Yeah.
That's a good move for that.
Yeah.
But if we were to take this and shake this around, we wouldn't get a really nice sear. I think more often we get a little bit worried that it's going to stick, so the automatic reaction is, oh, it's in the pan, give it a shake so it doesn't stick. We don't want to do that, because we want that caramelization. Now, you can use tongs, you can use spoon, use your fingers, and what we're watching for here is just, I can see on the outside of that scallop, it's just nicely starting to brown. Yeah. So then we're just going to flip those nicely over. See? Perfect.
Beautiful.
No shake, no fuss, no muss. Just going to turn those right over. Just like that. Now at this point, we're going to actually turn this down. Because what we don't want to do is overcook the scallop.
And how do you know if they're cooked or not? That's one thing with scallops I'm never quite sure.
You've got to be able to touch. You've got to be able to have that confidence to not be scared, to be able to put your hand in the pan and just give them a touch. We want them to be nice and springy. Scallops can overcook very quickly, and that is certainly the crime in any sort of fish cookery, is overcooking your fish. So in with just a little bit of butter. And if you don't mind, you've got another cutting task. The lemon in half, please. We're just going to shift our scallops out of the way. You can see here,
half like this?
Just going to melt the butter in. Yeah, perfect. And just go ahead and give us a squeeze in there, please. Awesome.
Oh, no,
Thank you very much.
In there.
Oh, that's no worries. We can watch out for those. That's tons. Thanks. So we know that this Kolsch has got some really great acidity. So what we want to do is really emulate the flavors of the beer in the cooking. Now we're doing that because we've got Kolsch actually cooked right into our RAGU, which is coming along famously. This is the time for chives, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, into
And
the
then
ragu.
also here, yes please. And then also here with the scallops, the lemon juice will really emulate the nice, bright, crisp, citrusy flavors that we'll get from this Kolsch. Now, Mark over at Boiling Oar, he and I were having a little bit of a tasting the other day in preparation for today's episode, and we were talking all about the fact that when he was putting this beer together, that this was kind of like his gateway beer, if you would. He wanted people to be able to enjoy this beer, and frankly, for it to be kind of like that big beer alternative. In this case, perfect balance. Really, really simple. So we've got the potato ragu, and then we're just going to go right on with the scallops. And however you wish to arrange these, I mean, it's certainly no sweat, hey? There you go.
There you go.
Just like that.
And
It's
that's
just
our
that simple.
appetizer.
Yep. Now that is Kolsch in a glass.
Fantastic. Well, this looks delicious. And we will be back with more Cooking with Beer, and we are going to make our main dish. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to Cooking with Beer. We are in the kitchen with Chef Matthew Beatty, who's the executive chef at the Nash.
So we're moving into something that's a little more body, a little bit more depth of flavor than the Kolsch, and just sort of progressively working through the styles of beer.
Awesome.
So Kate, I know it's really hard.
It's the best.
I think it's time to crack that beer.
One thing I am good at.
Excellent choice.
Right?
So we've got a couple of different pieces of this dish. So we're going to serve some spaghetti squash that we're actually going to cook with the beer itself.
Yeah.
We're going to grill a piece of lamb sirloin.
Yeah.
Of course, beautiful lamb grown here in Alberta. We'll make the Boiling Oar Pale Ale part of that marinade as well. And then a really classic, very, very simple 3-ingredient condiment called GREMOLATA, which is normally served with braised meats like ossobuco, for example. But the flavor profile of this pale ale, it's a little bit grassy in a really nice, clean way. And a little bit of chopped parsley, garlic, and some lemon, I think will really pull up some of those notes that Mark puts so much care into making this beer. Should we get started?
Yes, let's do
Perfect.
this.
Well, a beautiful spaghetti squash. Now, the one thing with a spaghetti squash, and sometimes most squash, is that it can be, a little bit hard because it's round, it's got a tough exterior. So what I suggest is, of course, getting this nice and firm with your hand, and then just cutting yourself a little bit like this, almost like of a guideline. And then what I can do is just take the time and put my knife right there inside the slot, just with my hand right on the end of the knife like that. See? Shift it on back, and then see, could you imagine putting your hand on the end of that point right now? Probably not a great idea. So what we're going to do is take the squash and hold it up here at the top, right through. There we go. Beautiful spaghetti squash. Now, we want to be able to create a cavity, so we need to get the seeds out because inside of the squash, we're actually going to put some butter, some fresh thyme, and of course, this is Cooking with Beer after all. It's time for that Boiling Oar Pale Ale. So a little bit.
Are these like pumpkin seeds? Could you cook these?
You could absolutely cook those. You want to be really aggressive with that. Yeah, don't be shy whatsoever. That's perfect.
Good.
Yeah, just like that.
Excellent.
Awesome. So let's take this cavity here, and you know what? It's quite a lot of squash. We'll scoot that off to the side as well.
Okay.
Thanks so very much. And then what we'll do is just go in with our best friend butter. And this is, again, as I say, it's the better with butter thing going on. A couple of fresh sprigs of thyme. And then let's grab a roasting pan. Roasting pan inside. And this, we're just gonna stud this with a couple of cloves of garlic, because really we're looking more for aromatics than we are like a really garlicky squash. Just like that. And then, well, look at that, the beer's excited. Just like that.
Fantastic.
That's where we're at.
Yummy.
Perfect. And then we would go ahead, just give that a quick wrap in foil, and then into the oven.
Perfect.
So we're looking at about 350 to 375 degrees, and this will take a good hour and a half. So like I say, definitely want to start this job ahead of time. So the next part is that we should get our lamb sirloin ready. But before we can cook, we need to get marinated. So here's our lamb sirloin, and again, just onto a cloth to get rid of any of the moisture, i.e. any of the blood. Really nice fat cap. So we're just gonna give that a quick little score. And we don't want to go through.
let the heat in?
Exactly, and we don't want to necessarily render this. This is really more of a flavor.
Okay.
So you'll notice that I've just barely gone through like this. We want to get it so we can get a really nice sear. We're gonna grill though,
Okay.
but we don't want to go into the meat because we don't want to break it down. We do need to continue to clean it. So what I'm gonna do is just remove this flap here. Now, we could leave this on.
Yeah.
However, for the restaurant, we make lamb merguez sausage, and this is what we use when we make our sausage.
Yeah.
So now that we've got this all nicely cleaned up, it's a really, really simple marinade. So your job, 1 part boiling oar,
Okay.
1 part olive oil. That's awesome.
Good.
So a good honest splash of that olive oil, like I say, 1 to 1.
Good.
Maybe a little bit more if you
more.
don't mind. Cool, awesome,
Good.
thank you very much. If you don't mind just to grab that microplane. Thank you very much. And here's 2 cloves of garlic. It's all you.
Right. I
Watch
can
your
do this,
fingertips.
right?
I'm just gonna pick down a little bit of fresh rosemary. Now, because this is for a marinade, we're not looking for this to be finely chopped. We're just looking to get some of the aromatics of the rosemary released. Simple. And then you slide in. There we go.
More
So just a
garlic.
little bit of rosemary, perfect.
Love the
lamb, garlic, for sure. Pick down a little bit of fresh thyme. Let's give it a quick stir. And this isn't emulsified or anything like that. We don't need to worry about getting a whisk or getting it in the blender or anything like that. We just want to stir together the flavors.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do is marinate our lamb. And we can do this even up to 24 hours. So you can see we have it nicely submerged.
Yeah.
You want to roll it over just like that. And then from there, we can just put this right into the fridge.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So I think this is one of those magic
Yeah.
television moments
Yes.
that we all of a sudden check in on, see how our squash is doing
Yes.
and how the lamb is doing.
Let's look
Awesome.
at it.
So first and foremost, here comes our squash. Look at that.
If that doesn't say
Perfect.
fall, I don't know what does.
And our lamb. So we've grilled this off on the charcoal, but we've kept it warm in the oven.
Perfect.
Now what we want to
Yeah.
do though is before we get too excited about how gorgeous this lamb is, we don't necessarily want to go ahead and carve it right away.
Okay.
Because we do want to just let it rest just for a little
Sure.
bit. Okay, so check that. Beautiful. Nice medium, let that cool and just do its thing. So now we need to get to the squash. So you can see the squash. Grab a fork. This is fun. You see how it's just pulled away from the side here?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is just fork that out, and that's where it gets the name spaghetti squash, because it comes in strands. So we'll just pull away the thyme, and then be careful if a little warm. See that, just like that?
Yeah. and
Perfect. Lovely,
scoop it out.
tender,
Yeah.
long strands.
Looks
Excellent.
so easy.
So I'm gonna slide this over
Okay.
to you,
Okay.
and we're just gonna grab a sauce pot. We're just gonna melt a little bit of butter. Delicious. So, big spoon. And this is a little warm, so again,
Okay.
I'd encourage you to maybe use a towel if you need to.
We don't all have chef hands, do we?
Truth. And just scrape that right into there, just like that. It's awesome.
So creamy.
Perfect. That's exactly what
Yeah.
we want, just right there. So let's set that aside for now. The last move here is for us to do a little bit of gremolata.
Okay.
Really, really simple, like I say. 3 different ingredients. So a little parsley. Here's some more garlic for you.
Okay. And how many cloves? 1 or 2?
Let's go with 2.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear.
So we're going to cut this Italian parsley or flat leaf parsley into a nice chiffonade. And chiffonade is just a style of cut. It's long string like this. So we want this to still have a little bit of texture. So what I don't want to do is, mince this or anything like this. So I'm going to slide in there. Awesome. Perfect. We need to zest this lemon.
Yes.
And sometimes when people use a microplane, they like to put the microplane down like this.
That's
and
how
then,
I was taught.
Then like this, right? Well, that's fine, but it's kind of ineffective.
Okay.
Right? What I like to do is I like to hold the lemon in this hand and actually just roll it around like this. So just everything in together like that. All the bits, all the flavor. We just put a little bit of a splash of the olive oil in.
Okay.
And you know, I don't think there would be much harm in there being literally just a little splash of the boiling
beer?
oar, and just a splash.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, that's great. So this now just became our gremolata vinaigrette.
Delicious.
Totally, look at
It
that.
smells so good.
Well, there's just such amazing flavor in this pale ale that I think any opportunity to use it more would be great.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind to just pass me the plate there that's underneath. So the gremolata, there we are. So
Plating
let's
time.
get started for sure. So just a little bit of the squash there. Cooking at home, lovely, simple, simple, simple. And this squash can definitely be cooked ahead of time.
Yeah. And just warm it up when your guests
Yeah.
arrive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who wants to be a slave to the kitchen when you're having a dinner party? And then grab our lamb. Awesome. Of course, we're watching for the grain and making sure that we're not cutting with it.
Beautiful.
Rockstar. Here, the honors are all yours.
Oh, and do I just on
Just,
top?
yeah, right over top. Just cascade it right over top. Yes. And don't be shy, hey? Because we made a vinaigrette.
Yeah.
All that lovely olive oil, really nice fresh fruit characteristics in that olive oil. And then also the boiling oar pale ale. And this is our beautiful main course.
Looks absolutely stunning.
Awesome.
It's fantastic. We are going to eat this in a little bit, but first we have to make dessert. So we're going to take a quick break, set up for dessert, and we'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back to Cooking with Beer. We're back in the kitchen and we are making dessert, the best part of any meal, in my opinion
Delicious.
anyway. I love it. And
Totally.
it has beer in it.
Indeed.
Makes it
3
even
recipes, 3 uses of this beautiful brown ale from
Yeah.
boiling oar.
Let's get started. Let's
Awesome.
do this.
Let's. So, brown ale is the inspiration.
Yep.
Brand new for Mark. Pretty excited about this. We're going to start by making beer ice cream.
Yummy.
I know, so
Love it.
delicious, right?
Yeah.
So Mark works with a really, really cool small malt operation
Mm-hmm.
outside of Penhold, and it's actually called Red Shed. And what I did was, when we talked about earlier about using the ingredients of beer, using the beer in the cooking, I grabbed some of the malts from Mark, and I've actually started
So
steeping
those
them.
are right there, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. In the base of the ice cream. So we've got some cream that's on the stove right now, and it's steeping away, so we can see just those little.
So it's getting that beer flavor.
Exactly.
That malty.
Yeah, just building
Yeah.
the depth, right? Many opportunities to get the flavor characteristics to come out.
Yep.
That then makes the bridge back to essentially the glass
Yep.
and the plate.
Perfect.
Exactly. So vanilla beans.
Yes.
A couple of eggs. At first there were 12, and now there are 2.
Let's
Because
not
Kate,
talk-
you did an amazing job
Yes.
of separating the yolks earlier.
I did that
So if you
already.
don't mind, let's
Yep,
finish up your
okay.
task. Let's get those last 2 yolks in there. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to very quickly separate a little bit of vanilla bean. So anglaise, traditional French sauce. Awesome.
I can't talk and concentrate at the same time.
Oh, you can do it.
Nope.
So while Kate, while you finish that up, I'm just gonna go back and check on our cream here. So I took the vanilla bean, cut the pod open, scraped it for the seeds, put the seeds inside, as well as the actual bean itself. And what we just need to do is just bring this right back up to the simmer. So yolks plus sugar plus whisk equals a
Ooh,
good
I
job
can
for
do
Kate.
that.
Please, thank you very much. Fantastic. So our cream's just starting to come up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue to work as a team.
Yes.
So we're going to add the nice hot cream into those eggs and sugar.
Okay, so you're gonna pour it.
Absolutely. There you go. So we're just straining out all of the malts. Perfect. And the reason why we're doing this together, and the reason why you continue to whisk, is that what we don't want to do is overcook the egg yolks. So there are a couple of different options Now what we need to do is continue to cook our anglaise.
Okay.
What we need to do is get the sauce to thicken, because what we need to do is cook the egg yolks. So we could either keep this in the bowl and cook it over a bain-marie, which for most people at home is going to be the safest way to do this.
Okay.
It's not that it's so dangerous so much as what you don't want to do is end up still overcooking this to make those scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Or you can return it to a sauce pot, and provided that you can hang out and stir and do your thing, you're totally good.
So we're gonna pour it into the saucepan?
We are.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I think this will be definitely one of those moments where we have a little bit of cooking with television, because let's be honest.
We don't have time to sit here and watch a pot boil.
No, not necessarily watch even the pot boil, nor do we have time, frankly, for us to wait for everything to freeze.
Yes.
So our next job, if you don't mind, is the butter, the brown sugar, the cream that's in this jug. We're going to make ourselves what I like to call affectionately the triple B caramel sauce. Brown butter, brown sugar,
Yes.
brown ale.
So this is our
Caramel.
brown butter.
Exactly. So we take that whole butter and just fire it right into the pot, if you would. Please and thank you. So we're going to melt the butter. And then we're actually going to brown the milk solids that are in the base. So while that's doing that, let's go back over here, grab our spatula, and let's check back in on our anglaise. Give that a stir. So you can see it's definitely starting to cook, and now that we've got it on the stove, we need to really maintain it, so we can't walk away at this point.
You gotta keep moving it.
I know, totally. Hey, so why don't we do a little tradesies?
Okay.
And I'll hold on to this and keep giving this a
want me to-
stir. There we go. And this will only be a sec. And you can see here, we're getting the butter, it's already starting to separate, and you really get those nice toasty, nutty flavors from that little base there. So we're almost ready for the brown ale.
Okay.
And it's gonna go pretty quickly. So we'll hit it with brown ale. Just stand back so that it doesn't spit at you. A little splash there. Yeah, awesome.
Good.
Perfect. And then in with the sugar.
All of it?
Yes, please.
Oh my God.
Fantastic. Then back to your trusty whisk. There you go. Awesome. Perfect. Now we just need to bring that up to a simmer.
Okay.
We'll hit it with just a little spot of cream. There you go. That's awesome.
And whisk it?
Please do.
Okay.
So, last move for
Yes.
our anglaise. Do you mind just to grab that small dark container there? Yes, please.
And what
This
is
is our
this?
secret ingredient. So please
Oh,
go
we
ahead and
can't
put
talk
that right
about it?
in. Oh,
In which pot?
Right into the ice cream base. You know what that is?
What?
That's a reduction of brown ale.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Exactly. So this anglaise is pretty much right there. We're getting ready to pull it off the stove. So we might want to
more
strain
TV.
this, but we did such a good job
Yeah.
that I think we'll be good with this batch here. But what
Okay.
we do want to do is just get it set aside. If you don't maybe mind to take the caramel across the way. Perfect. Awesome. So as I said earlier, we'd look just to strain this. If you
Yeah.
want to maybe just pass me.
The bowl?
Yeah, not that guy. And then we'll just imagine this is full of ice.
Okay.
We put it in there, get it arrested, and or strain it.
Before you put it into your ice cream maker.
Exactly. Because
Perfect.
what we want to do is
Yeah.
we want to set it in cold. But for us right now, we can just set that off the back. So we brought some carrot cake. Again, talking about awesome Alberta products that we put a little bit of brown ale right into the base. The triple B caramel. And
Where do I put the ice cream?
Wherever you'd like.
On top.
Awesome. Look at that. That is delicious.
Thank you so much for joining us
No worries.
today. Thank you for these beautiful creations. There you go. 3 ways to use boiling or beer for your next home meal.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Pleasure.
Let's dig in.